Hey, what is up? AJ here, and welcome to what I'm calling for now a well rounded life, but I might come up with something better in the future or not. Today, I'm going to talk about investing in many ventures. And the idea here is actually from the Bible, and the idea here is not to put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to career, right? Or just ways of making money or ways of providing for yourself for your needs and everything. That's good coffee. But this is actually from Ecclesiastes 11, and I'm going to read from it. Ecclesiastes 11, starting at verse 1. Ship your grain across the sea. After many days you may receive a return. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. Clouds are full of water, they pour rain on the earth. Whether a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where it falls, there it will lie. Whoever watches the wind will not plant, whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the path of the wind, or how the body is formed in a mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker of all things. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle. For you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. So, basically, it's making the point you don't know what's going to happen. So, it's cool just that this idea is in the Bible, investing in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. So, and it's just making the point like, if the clouds are full of water, they part rain, but sometimes they don't, And then at the end part, whoever watches the wind will not plant, whoever looks at the clouds will not reap, whoever's like sort of waiting for something to happen before they start planting, whoever's like, well, it's going to be a bad year, so I'm not even going to try and plant, you know what I mean? Things like that. It's like, well, you're not going to reap anything. You don't know the ways of the wind and the clouds and things like that. Even today, we might think we do. Sometimes unpredictable things happen still, right? So, going back to the beginning part, though, you do not know what disaster may come upon the land. Yeah. Like all this complaining about the economy right now in the United States. You don't know, like, they're saying it's going to get worse in the next year. And a lot of people are depending on one income from their job. Was like when COVID hit and everything, everyone who was depending on an income for their job and stuff, who couldn't work. I mean, yeah, the government provided a lot of stimulus stuff, but maybe not all countries would have that. And it's just like some things that like happened, industries that were disrupted, businesses that went out of business might not ever come back into business again, you know what I mean? That, things that happened throughout that whole thing. Oh, my alarm's going off. And things that are happening throughout like this crazy past year or so. A lot of people are complaining about everything that's happening, leadership and everything that's happening, but what have you done? You just thought everything was going to be all great all the time? No. We all saw it, right? The economy went from this to this just because of a change in leadership. What does that mean? We shouldn't depend on it. That's what it means. We shouldn't depend on it. It's a top-down sort of thing. So secure a few seats at the top and it's over, It can be just like that. It can go from this to this. You know what I mean? From the highest point to the lowest point. So we shouldn't be depending on that to to live well, to have a well-rounded life, to have it, to provide for our families. We shouldn't be depending on that, and we shouldn't be depending on one thing, one income. We shouldn't be depending on that because industries can be disrupted, industries can be destroyed. You know what I mean? Things can happen very easily. You know, using this idea of cultivating fields, one field can be burnt down very quickly. If that's your fruitful field and you haven't been cultivating all the others, you're not going to have a harvest at all. You see the point here? You see the importance of having a well-rounded life? You see the importance of not having all your eggs in one basket, so to speak? So, what are you doing to provide new ways of making income for yourself, like a side hustle, things like that? You gotta be doing something, I think like it's our call to make sure that we don't have to worry about that. Oh, we're insured and everything. Like some people they think they're secure because of, this sort of system that we have where everything's insured and everything. But it's, to be honest, like our system is very unstable, It's an unstable system just all around. If the world decided that a dollar wasn't worth a dollar anymore, we'd be screwed, you know what I mean? Americans would be screwed because our dollar is just paper and it's only a dollar because the government says it's a dollar, right? So all your dollars in your bank account, all your dollars saved up for whatever insurance or whatever things, like I don't even know how that stuff works, honestly. What I'm concerned about is investing in more ways for me to make more money. I want to be wise with how I spend, but my focus is on bringing in more dollars, not squeezing pennies. And it's also in investing in ways to it's you know, it's like the saying goes, relationships are capital. So it's, in trying to cultivate relationships with lots of different people because that could save you in an economic downfall. You know what I mean? That could help you find some sort of extra income from yourself. So I'm not just talking about investing like in stocks or whatever. I don't even know how that stuff works, and I know families who've gone into debt over it, investing too much. So I say if you ever do that, to be wise about it and do your research. That is, a way. But just like look it up online. There's so many different things you could do to make an income. Make side income, even if it's not a lot, There's a lot of different ways. If you're dependent on one thing to provide for your family, that's not a good thing because what if that industry is disrupted, you know? What if something is developed to where people don't need to do that anymore, To where they won't pay people to do that anymore, to where they could just, the popular example is have AI do it. I think it could be an interesting next couple of years to see where things like that go. But there's even cars that can basically drive themselves now. It seems so insane. But what if that somehow disrupts a whole thing of, sort of like the Uber taxi kind of thing, And taxi was basically uprooted by Uber, right? Basically. I mean, I don't really know much about that stuff, but I'm just kind of like just riffing here, just off of that idea. It's how an industry, it can be disrupted very easily by something new. So, don't have all your eggs in one basket. You know, don't do that. Find other ways. I'm a very creative person. I make music, and I have my musical skills that I could use in a live setting. I wouldn't have to have online setting, you know what I mean? Um, that's how I have a lot of my income, is from online um, digital streaming platforms, stuff like that. If somehow the internet were to break, I could still make money doing music because I have my skills, you know? There are other ways I can do it. And in the same way, if somehow something happened to music, um, I could still, like, I do podcasts and stuff talking about things. And so, or if something happened to me and I couldn't play guitar anymore, I couldn't, sing anymore or whatever, something happened personally to me physically, and I couldn't do that anymore, I wouldn't be, you know, I wouldn't be shaking because there's other things I can do. There's other things I'm passionate about. Yes, my specialty is music. That is the one thing that I really specialize in. But if something were to happen to that, I'd be fine. It's not all just about specializing in one thing and not having any sort of depth and shape to your life, if you will. So think of ways you can um, better be prepared for disaster in your life. Don't be stressful and anxious about it. Just understand that industries can be disrupted very easily, and if you're dependent upon someone else with your income, like my main source of income right now is my day job. If something were to happen to that, if someone were to just decide that um, they didn't want me working there for some reason or whatever, there's a lot of things that can happen very easily, and boom, it's gone. I don't want to be dependent upon that. So I'm always trying to find new ways to do it, and I'm trying to, I'm sort of, kind of dipping my toes in different things and sort of establishing myself there slowly in a sort of long-term way. Like the podcast industry, I'm kind of been doing that all for the past year, and I'm kind of starting to get to a point where I could possibly make something from it, but I'm just kind of establishing myself in different ways to where if something happened, I could just go boom, diving into that thing to cultivate it to a point where it's providing, income for me, and boom, I can dive into this thing as well. If I were to like somehow get fired from my day job, or my day job like wasn't possible anymore because the industry was just destroyed, disrupted, or somehow replaced by something else that we couldn't do, then I could go diving into several different things that provide like a little bit of income for me and make it a lot more, because a lot of the things that I have right now, I put little bits of time in here and there, but like since they're already planted, if something were to happen, I could really cultivate them quickly because I'm already established, right? So that's another thing, is whatever you're investing in, whether it's actually financially or just investing time into building, to be wise about what it is and really seek sort of evergreen things that can kind of be evergreen, right? You know, think of it like this. Farmers plant in the spring and they harvest in the fall, but they have to go and do the work again and again and again every year. Evergreen means you plant it once, you cultivate it once, and you're still continually cultivating it, right? It's a longer term sort of thing. It might take a couple of years, but then it's harvest after harvest after harvest, even after you've cultivated them, and all you got to do is sort of maintain it, like for example, like an orchard or something. Like when you got those trees planted up, you've done a lot of the long work, so then you don't have to do as much after they've been, grown to a point where they can be fruitful. They're going to grow on their own every year. You don't have to keep planting. There's still work to be done, but you don't have to keep planting. You could go plant somewhere else and grow that up, and then boom, you have two fields that are bringing in a harvest every year without you having to put in as much work. You know what I mean? Just like being wise about what you're investing in and things like that too. Being wise in the seeds that you're planting. Things like that. That's like what I'm speaking to with music is I'm making money from albums I wrote 5 years ago. You know what I mean? So I kind of cultivated that, planted it once and really developed it once. I'm still making money from it. I'm still reaping harvest from it continually. So that's like really the idea I'm trying to nail down here is like have a venture or two that's like that, Not all of them have to be, but when you have that and it's like something you've got to build up, but it's easy to maintain, it's awesome, So invest in things like that. And this video's probably got a little bit long-winded, but thanks for joining me. And go out there and cultivate yourself. Live well-rounded, Be skillful, full of skills. Be willing to learn new skills.